Hello, welcome to Java for Beginners. In this video, we'll be looking at the Boolean data type, working with the if-else statements, and using the arithmetic operators in Java. Well, before we dive deeper into this video, I would like you to skim this article. The link to this website would be in the description of this video on YouTube. So please, I would like you to pay attention to the arithmetic operators and the relational operators especially, but I would like you to skim the entire article anyway. Thank you. So hopefully you've taken your time to skim the article. Now let's look into the Boolean data type. We've worked with the int data type, the integer, whole number. We've worked with double, the decimal, right? We've also worked with the string, the text. There are a few other data types that we haven't really worked with, but that's because you most likely won't be working with those, but eventually we'll get there. Anyway, the Boolean data type is something that you would actually find very interesting because it allows you to check conditions, and if those conditions are met, then you could set specific actions. Well, what does that really look like? Okay, so don't forget, we have our data type, Boolean in this case, all spelled lowercase, and I will call this variable check or whatever, because the point is I want to check if a condition is true or not. So if I say 1 is less than 2, of course 1 is less than 2. So because 1 is less than 2, if I say sysout command space and I print out this variable that I created, check, all right, it should say true. All right, good. It's going to say true because 1 is in fact less than 2. All right, so don't forget the data type Boolean, the variable name in this case is check, and we set the value as 1 is less than 2, and that's why it's returning true. Now, if I change this 1 to 10 instead, and I run the program, it should say false because 10 is not less than 2. 10 is greater than 2, and in this case, it's returning 10 is less than 2, so it's saying false. Now, how does this actually make sense? Of course, it's the Boolean data type mostly goes with an if-else statement. So I could say if, again, guys, what I want is I want you to actually watch this video, then pause, then try to practice the code. Of course, I want you to change the variable names and mess around with the value because you practicing is what is going to lead to mastery of the concepts. So you say if, in lowercase, of course, you open a bracket. In the bracket, it's going to contain the condition that we want to check. Now, the condition I want to check is, I want to check if this variable, this Boolean variable type check, I want to check if it's going to return a true or a false. All right. And you notice that I'm using 2 equal to. That's because I'm not setting a value for this variable, but instead I'm checking if the value of this variable is going to be true or false. Now, that is the condition I want to check. So if check equals true, then I will open my curly bracket and the closing of my curly bracket, and in the middle, I'm going to put the closing on another line, and I will sysout control space, and in the bracket of the sysout, I would print, I will put a string that will say it is raining today or something like that. All right. Now, for every if, not for every if, there could be multiple ifs. All right. We'll get to that in our next challenge. But you also use an else statement. And in the future video, we'll even be covering else if or whatnot. But today, we'll just stick to working with if else statement. So if check is true, then print out it is raining today. And outside of my curly bracket, I will say else. For else, there's no condition to be checked, right? Because the condition has already been checked in the if statement. So I'm going to say else, open my curly bracket, and inside of my curly bracket, I will sysout control space and put an empty string and say it is not raining today. All right. Now, if I run this program, I want you to take a guess. What is going to be printed? Is it going to print out? Sorry, I should zoom it a little bit in so that you can see what's going on. All right, good. I want you to take a guess. Is it going to say it is raining today or it's not raining today? It's not raining today. Why? Because 10 is not less than 2. So it's not returning a true value, instead it's returning a false. And we have said in the else, if it's not returning a true value, then it should return it is not raining today. Now, if I change the value of the variable check to 1 is less than 2, or let's just even mess around, let's say 100, is less than 200, which is true, right? And I execute this program now, it should say it is raining today because that's true. All right, so that is it for Boolean and if-else statement. Now let's make it more fun. Let's look into something practical. So you're told to calculate a student's grade based on their math, art, humanities, and science exam scores. The maximum score available on each paper is a 7. To get an A grade, the total score must be 24 or greater. To attain a B grade, the total score must be at least 20, but not up to 24. To attain a C, the total score must be at least 16, but not up to 20. Anything below a C is an F. That is interesting. All right, now how do we make this work? I'm just going to delete all of this program. Okay, and I would say calculate a student grade based on their math, art, humanities, and science score. All right, so of course that would mean we have, and they said the maximum score available for each paper is a 7. All right, so it could be 5.5, 6.6, but it cannot be more than a 7. So if you're thinking what I'm thinking, that would be a double, of course, because there's a possibility of 5.5, 5.1, 5.2, or whatnot. Decimal, right? So we say decimal, variable name, let's say math score, and for now, actually, let's make this more fun. Let's use, let's get user input instead of, setting the variable. So don't forget to get user input. There's a line of code. If you've forgotten, please, you can pause this video now and go watch the last one. We have the scanner, all right, the capital S scanner, and we have the lowercase scanner, right? And I will explain this to you in this video actually. Equals, then we have new, then we have scanner, all right, and we have system dot input, all right. And what does this really mean? All right, input stream. The stream is already open and ready to supply input data. Typically, the stream corresponds to keyboard input or another input source specified by the host, environment, or user. All right, so I think that is very self-explanatory, but let me explain to you what's going on. So this line of code pretty much is saying now we're starting to look into objects and method. All right, remember, if you've worked with MIT App Inventor before, I've told you that a class is similar to a screen, a page, if it's a web application. Now, a web application would typically consist of like different buttons and different labels and different, all of those elements, they are referred to as objects. In this case, we have created a new object, which is called scanner. All right. Scanner is one of Java's inbuilt objects that allows you to generate system, that allows you to get user input. Now, and we are specifying the method here. That is the method that we want to use the scanner. So the method that we want to collect our data is we want the system to input data for us using the keyboard. So that's what's happening here. Again, don't overthink this at all. If it doesn't make sense to you, it's totally okay. I went to uni and studied computing for 3 years, and I'll be very honest with you, it took a while for me to even get to fully grasp all of these concepts. And the fact that you guys are getting started at a way younger age, I think it's really cool because the sky is indeed the starting point. All right. So, and again, I strongly recommend that you make use of the suggestions by the suggestions. Now, this is pointing out to us, you can see the red flag is saying something needs to be done after this line of code. So if I click on it, it's telling me, okay, I get it. There's a scanner object. Do you mean you want to import that object? And I will say yes. And because I've said yes, by pretty much clicking on it and then hitting the enter key on my keyboard, you can see that the new line of code was added to my line 3, which is import java .utility.scanner. So now the object is fully imported. Now this itself For the user's sake, it's always advisable to sys out and put an empty string whenever you add a new scanner, just so that it's a way of communicating the type of data you want from the user, since you are expecting them to trigger that action. All right, and in this case, I would say enter math score must not be greater than 7, just as a warning, because some people would like to mess around with the system. Now, if I execute this program, let's take it line by line. It's going to tell you enter your math score must not be greater than 7. Now, if I say 7, I can't enter anything yet. Why? Because there's no variable to hold whatever I enter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new double variable. So double, and I will call that variable math score. All right, because the math score is what I'm expecting right now, and I will say math score equals this object scanner that we brought in. I will copy it and put it there, scanner. All right, dots. All right, next double, which is because of the data type we're using here. So this is saying create a new double variable, call that variable name math score, and the value, all right, of that variable, that is the value of that variable, should be the object scanner dot the next double scanner, that is the next double data that was input into the system, that will be input into the system. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my command of English language today. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. So if I just so that we understand what's going on, let me put another sys out that will confirm your math score. So let me say sys out control space, and let me say your score in math is space, and then plus, let me put this variable math score, which you have set the value to be whatever the user inputs, right? So if I run this program now, it will say enter math score must not be greater than 7. If I say 6 and I click on enter, it will say your math score is 6.0. All right, so pretty much we're going to repeat the same step for how many subjects are we looking at? Art, humanities, and science, and then there will be another variable that will perform the total. All right, so that's where we started going. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So that is for math. Okay, this is your math score, and then I also wanted to say now enter your humanities score. All right, so it's also telling you to enter your humanities score. And now I'm going to create another double variable, and I'll call that humanities score, and that will be equals, the value will be the next scanner next double, just as we did for the math score. Is the same thing we're doing for the humanities score as well. That is, we want to set it to the next double data that the user input to the system after this. All right, and it's up to you if you wanted to report the humanities score or not, but I think it makes sense to have it to report it. Your score in humanities is, then put a space, and then I'll put a plus operator, and I would actually, oh, something is going on here. Okay, it's missing a plus here, so I need to put a plus, and there's no full stop. All right. Okay, now your humanities score is plus. I will copy this variable actually. And why is it not picking this scanner? Okay, I think something is on here as well. Let's have a look. Scanner dot next double. All right. Okay, now it's fine. Your score in humanities is then plus. I will copy this variable humanities score just so that I don't mess up the spelling, and put it there. And I will also put another operator and open another string that would say now enter your art score. All right. For the sake of time, I'm not going to add any more subject. I'm actually going to change this question a little. Oh, okay, you know what? Let's just follow it through. I feel like let's follow it through since it's a challenge that was set from the AP exam itself. So let's solve it to show that we can solve it. All right. So let's run our program and see where we are. Enter your math score must not be greater than 7. So if you enter 6 and you enter, I would say your score in math is 6.0. Your score in math is 6.0. Now enter your humanities score. All right. So if you say another 7 in humanities, your score in humanities is 7.0. Now enter your art score. So the same process is what we are repeating again. And you can see that I just put some space because these shouldn't be like this. So I've put some space in the opening of the strings in the sysout.print. All right. So and again, guys, if this seems too fast for you, please feel free to pause the video, watch it, again, pause, look at the code and type it out yourself. That is the way you understand and then you put the code away and try to really think and make it happen by yourself. All right. It's all about the way you think and your approach to solving the problem. All right. So I will create another variable. I will call that double and I will call that, okay, art score. And again, art score will be the next scanner, next double. All right. Please feel free to use the suggestions. And I will close the argument. And after closing that argument, I will put sys out, control space. And I will say your art score is, I'll copy this variable art score, that is the value in that variable is what I want to report as the art score. All right, plus art score. Now I'm going to put a plus again and open another string to say now enter, maybe a space here as well. What is the last subject? So we have math, humanities, art, and science. Now enter your science score. All right, so let's run these again. Enter your math score must not be greater than 7. We'll make that a 6. Enter. Your score in math is 6.0. Now enter your humanities score. We'll make that a 5. Your score in humanities is 5.0. Now enter your art score. Let's make that a 7. Your art score is 7. Now enter your science score, which is the last one. All right. Maybe after the variable, I might want to put an empty string that puts full stop. All right, but all of that is just formality pretty much. It depends on it's just what we care about is the program. All right, so let's continue. Sorry guys, let's continue. So the last one is science, right? So again, we have double science score equals, and we can make that as well as scanner the next, since it's the next data that will be imputed. So scanner.next double. You can see, guys, sometimes the suggestion doesn't seem to come when you want it. So just go backspace, then dot and wait for it, and just scroll down. You can scroll down or scroll up based on what you want. In this case, what we want is right on the first line is the next double. That is, the next double that's imputed to the system should be stored under the science score variable. And I'm just going to click. I'm just going to hit enter on my keyboard and close the argument by putting a semicolon in front. Okay, and now that we have the science score, it's up to you if you want to report the science score or not. I guess for the sake of whatever, let's report the science score as well. Your score in science is, and then a space. Don't forget your string, of course. So let's put a string and then let's put plus. Of course, the variable we're copying is the science score, and it's going to be there. Oops, oopsies. Okay, and it's going to be right there. Okay, so now we've copied the science score. Should we test it out? Yes, I guess. Let's test it out so that we're all on the same page. Enter the math score, 5 in math. Enter your humanities score, 6 in humanities. Enter your science score, 4 and enter your enter your science score now, 7. All right, your score in science is 7.0. Now we could have another variable. We'll call that double, and we'll say total score, because they said the total score is 7 for each exam. So sometimes 4 is 28. So the total score cannot be more than 28, right? So we could have another variable and say double total score equals, and then I will copy all of these variables. Science score. Oopsies, sorry. All right, I'll copy science score. Command. What's happening? All right, I will copy science score. Command C to copy. Sorry, I'm using a new computer today, so that might explain the reason why I'm a little bit all over the place. And it's a new computer. I need to get used to using it. Science score plus art score. Okay, it's telling me to copy all of that. Art score plus, just click on the variable twice and copy it. Humanity score plus math score. All right, and then close the argument. So now what we've done on line 20 is we've created a new variable to add up all of these scores. So the data type we're using for this new variable is double, and then we have the variable name as total score, and we want it to add up all of these other variables, and that should be the value. All right, and now we can start by setting our if else statement for the total score. So it says a grade that the total score must be 24 or greater. Now we could go and say, I'll start by saying if the condition I want to check in brackets, this variable total score, I will copy it and put it there. If total score, all right, I would say if total score, because the maximum 7 times 4 is 28, so your total score should not be more than 28. So I would say if total score is greater than or equal to 29, because it could be 28. If a student gets 7777, then that's 28, which is a possibility, although it's very rare that that will be the case, but it's still a possibility. So I need to put that in mind. So I would say if total score is greater than or equal to 29, don't forget the condition to be checked is right in the bracket in front of your lowercase if. Then I will open the curly brackets, open and close the curly bracket, and in the middle, I will put the closing on a separate line. I will say C south, control space. I would say if total score is greater than or equal to 29, then I want it to say I want to put an empty string that will say you have entered a wrong score in one or more of the exams or something like that. All right. And if we want to test this out right now, actually, let's test it out. So enter your score in math. Let's put an 8. Score in humanities, let's put a 7. Score in art, 7. Score in science, 7. Then it says you have entered a wrong score in one or more of the exams, because when you add up everything, the total score is more than, is more than 29 in this case. Or actually, let us report the total score as well so that we see what the total score is and we don't have to be thinking what is the total score. So let's put this variable total score. Let's put it in the C cell of print. All right, must be greater than 7. Good. So enter math, 7. Enter humanities, 8. Enter art, 90. Enter science, 6. Then it's saying your total score is 111. You have entered the wrong score in one or more of the exams. All right. So actually, let us put a string here. Your total score is, then we'll put a plus operator plus this variable. All right, good. So so that is what the first one is doing now. But okay, good. So we've taken care of that. To get an A, the grade of the total score must be 24 or greater. So the same thing we've done here is what we're going to do. Outside of the curly bracket, we're going to plug in another if statement. And in this case, we'll go and say if total score, all right, they said a grade of 24. To get an A, the total score must be 24 or greater. All right, so if it's greater than, if total score is greater than or equal to 24, all right, if total score is greater than and equal to 24, that means it could be anywhere from 24 to 28, but it should not be more than 29. It should not be more than 28. So we'll say if total score is greater than or equal to 24, then I want to put another curly bracket open, then the closing. Then I will drop the closing to the second line and put this out. And I want it to print the screen that will say your grade is an A. All right, let's run these and actually test it out, guys. So let's say 7 in math, 7 in humanities, 7 in art, 8 in science. Then it says your total score is 29. You have entered the wrong score. Well, if the total score is 29, it should say you have entered the wrong score in one of the exams. It shouldn't say your grade is an A. So there's a problem with this condition that we are checking for 24, right? So what we need to do is we need to say if your total score is greater than or equal to 24 and, all right, again, total score is less, if your total score is equal to, if your total score is greater than or equal to 24 and total score is less than or equal to 28. All right, what this means is that it cannot be more than 28. All right, because if it's more than 28, then I want this first check to execute. If it's more than 28, what I want is I want it to say you have entered the wrong score in one or more of the exams. But if it's 28, I want it to report you as an A student. So that's why in this condition, I'm checking more than two conditions at a single point in time. I'm saying if this variable total score, if it's greater than or equal to 24, and it's at the same time less than or equal to 28, then I want it to print it out that your grade is an A. So please, let's run it this time around and see what happens. So if I enter 8, let's say I enter 8 across the board, sorry, just to check what happens, then it says your total score is 32. You have entered the wrong score in one or more of the exams, which is what it should do. Now, let me enter 7 across the board, which should be 28. Then it says your total score is 28. Your grade is an A. Does that make sense? All right, and pretty much we're going to repeat the same thing for the B grade as well. So for the B grade, again, outside of the curly bracket, we put if, then the condition we want to check in bracket. If total score, sorry, you have to be consistent with a variable spelling. To attain a B grade, the total score must be at least 20. That means your total score must be equal to or greater than 20, but not up to 24, so cannot be more than 23, if that makes sense. So pretty much we say if your total score is greater than or equal to 20, all right, and your total score at the same time is less than or equal to, must not be 24 or greater. So it's less than or equal to 23 at the same time. So what I want is I'll put the curly bracket open, curly bracket closing, and I will drop this to the next line, and I will sys out, control space, and I want it to report you as your grade is a B. That is, you're a B student. If your grade is between 20 and 23. All right. Now let's test it out. So let's put 5 in math, 6 in humanities, 7 in art. I'm trying to get something that would be between 20 and 23. So let me keep it 7. I guess that gives you 25. That is still an A. Sorry, guys. So to get 23, I just need to make a 6 all across the board. Maybe 6, 6, 5, 6, 6, 6. Then the last one, 5. And then that gives you 23 and is reporting you as a B student. If we also keep it, let's say we keep it 5. Sorry, 5, 5, 5, then 6. That leaves you 21, and that still makes you a B student. And pretty much, you repeat the same process for. All right, let's complete it. To attain a B grade, so we've done the one for B. So to attain a C grade, the total score must be at least 16, but not up to 20. Anything below a C is an F. All right. So let's look at C. So we'll say outside of the curly bracket, we'll say if the condition we want to check, if the total score for C, they said it's 16, but not up to 20. So if this total score is greater than or equal to 16, and the total score at the same time is less than or equal to 19, because it cannot be up to 20. So it's less than or equal to 19. Then I'll put a curly bracket open, curly bracket closing, and I'll drop my second curly bracket to the next line and sys out control space, and I'll put an empty string that would say your grade is a C. That is, it's a credit, right? And now they said everything below a C is an F. So I could easily, outside of the curly bracket, go and put else. That is, if you check all of this condition, if it's not a B, if it's not an A, if the person hasn't entered the wrong score or whatever, right? So I could say else, sys out, of course, put your curly bracket, drop it to the next page and say sys out, control, and control bar, control space, and say your grade is an F. All right, and let's run the program just to test it. So let's say this student scored 7 in math, 7 in humanities, 7 in humanities, 5 in art, and then 4 in science. Oh, something's going on here. For total score of 23, your grade is a B. Why is it saying your grade is an F at the same time? If your grade is a B, why is it also an F? So let's look at it. There's a problem somewhere. So the total score is 28, and it should be reporting the grade is an A. But in this case, it's reporting the grade is an A and also reporting the grade is an F. So, oh my God. Okay, this is what's wrong. When you're using an if-else statement, if you will have more than one if statement, you would need to use something called else if. You could only have, technically, this is the rule, guys. Sorry, I totally messed it up. This is the rule. For your first if statement, it will be if. But if you're going to have another if, that is, if there are many conditions, the second one will need to be else if, else if, else if, and then the last one will be the else. So in this case, if the total score is greater than or equal to 29, then print out you have entered the wrong score, which is more than one or more of the exam. All right, and then we said else if the total score is greater than 24 and the total score is less than or equal to 28, then it should say the grade is an A. So let's just run the program and see if we got it right this time around. So let's say 7, 7, 7, 7. It should be 28 and good. So it's saying you got an A. Now let's try to get an F first. So the student 4, 4, then 0, 0. Okay, your score, then that's an F. and let's try to say you have entered the wrong score in one or more of the exams because it's more than 30. It's more than the allowed grade. Okay, so we've solved this program. Sorry for the lengthy video.